at that time that maybe war could bring about some good. You know, maybe a little war, just a small war. You know, actually like a humanitarian war could accomplish something great for the Iraqi people. And so that was our mindset when we went there. A small number of soldiers. It was going to be a small war, a quick war, an in-and-out war, as they said. And then, of course, the Americans started killing people they had no right to kill. Those people, their families, in their self-defense started killing Americans. And then once the body count started to rise, what did Washington do? What did Bush, the Republican, and the Democratic parties do? What did Congress do? Well, they sent more people to kill more Iraqis. They sent more military equipment. They dropped more bombs. And then, of course, more Americans were killed. And then this spiraled into this surge, and actually a troop surge, where you had around a dozen American soldiers every week burning alive in tanks and armored vehicles, and hundreds more Iraqis, mostly innocent, but those who were fighting had the right to fight, who died for no other reason than the US didn't want to accept that maybe they started a debacle they couldn't get out of. And in the end, 1 million Iraqis perished, millions more orphans, refugees, thousands of American soldiers, over 4,000 died, but tens of thousands more lost limbs in this complete quagmire that the US government, people like Joe Biden and George Bush, suffer none of the consequences for. So it's very easy for them to say, send another 10,000, send another 50,000, send another 100,000. And how did that war end? Did it end because the military might of the biggest military the world has ever known defeated their enemies in Iraq? No. It's because they started paying the Iraqi militias to stop attacking them while they slowly retreated over the period of a few years, to give the illusion that somehow war and military power and strikes and killing accomplished anything. But it accomplished nothing. And so the US left defeated, driven out, but with this illusion that they had somehow won by killing all of those poor people. But what is happening today? You know, the US left about 2,000 troops in Iraq. And when Biden started arming and backing in every possible way the genocide in Gaza, you had, of course, people in Iraq and in Syria who said, we're not going to accept that. We need to intervene on behalf of the people in Gaza. We need to punish the people that are doing this. So they started attacking American bases. And in a matter of a week, there was about 40 drone and rocket attacks on US bases. About 50 soldiers were injured in those attacks. And so what did the US government do? Like they did in 2003, 2004, 2005, well, they started killing back. And they started bombing bases of these Iraqi militias in Iraq. And they said, this is not an escalation. These are attacks to stop attacks, just like they said in 2004. Well, what happened? More attacks on American forces. Not just rocket attacks anymore, not just drone attacks anymore, but IEDs are back in Iraq. On Thursday, an American convoy was blown up by an IED in Mosul, a place where hundreds of Americans died from IEDs. And so what did the US do? They started bombing again. These same militias saying, these are not escalations, this is war to stop a bigger war from forming. We are on the brink of another major war in Iraq that Joe Biden is nonchalant about starting and entering into again. And just how close we are to that, just a few days ago, there was a drone that flew into an American base, packed with explosives. It got around all the American air defenses and everything. It snuck through, and it entered a barracks of American soldiers. And the explosives did not detonate, because it just was a faulty wiring. If that had blown up, there could be possibly dead Americans, dozens of dead Americans in that one attack. If that had happened, and of course there will be other drones that go on that same mission, what would the response of the United States, what would it be? Would it be to de-escalate? No, it would be to escalate and enter into more war. And the US could very well be, Biden could take us into another quagmire in Iraq where senselessly thousands of Iraqis and dozens, if not hundreds of Americans are killed and maimed for no other reason than to protect Israel while they conduct the genocide. Every soldier who is wounded and could die in Iraq and in Syria is doing it so Israel may conduct a genocide in peace. And so that's why actions like today are important for you all to be here, because one thing we can do is send a message to everyone who's in the military right now that they have the absolute right to not take part in any of them.
That's right.
When they get those orders to be part of that troop surge, those extra forces that are going to Iraq and Syria, they have the right and they have many options to say no, and they should not go. And having veterans stand up and give that message that you can do what we failed to do, what we weren't smart enough to do, and has refused to take part in this, because if you want to fight for anything good, it's fighting against all of these wars waged by the United States and their proxies. Thank you.
Thank you. Wow. I should mention too, today, tomorrow, there's going to be online, will be a Merchants of Death War Crimes Tribunal. And you can just go to Merchants of Death War Crimes Tribunal, Google it, and you can get into a link and follow it. It's basically a Zoom trial. And they're going after the manufacturers of war, because war is a profit. People make money on killing. That's why they continue to do this. If there was no money or no profit in war, we probably would have no wars, except if some crazy idiot wanted to do it. But the main thing is that, you know, it's not just this war, it's all wars. I'm also, you know, I've been to Okinawa and Jeju Island, and people in those little islands right now are facing U.S. buildup against Korea. The U.S. buildup pointing their guns at, using Korea as an excuse to point their guns at China. And they're gathering people there. There's over 800 bases across the world, U.S. bases across the world, controlling all nations and threatening them if they get out of line. It's playing the global cop, but it's really playing the empire, controlling everybody. So we all need to take a strong stand. I've been here